Hey, PD Grizz here. How about Will Smith smacking Chris Rock right out of his shoes last night? I thought that was pretty hilarious, actually. I now have like one respect for Will Smith, which watching him the last few years, I kind of had no respect for him. But now I have like just one respect for him. But anyway, today I want to talk about my Tourist, which is a Mercedes-Benz Tourist. I have a ton of Tourists. When I first started collecting, they were cheap and I would come across them all the time for like $5 and I would just buy them all. So I have like a box full of Tourists. I only have a handful that are actually on my display shelf because if I put them all up there, it would be mostly Tourists and they're all pretty much the same. But that aside, the Tourist is a great knife. You know, everybody knows it's just the Spartan, but shrunk down a little bit to a 84 millimeter, roughly 3¼ inch size. And this particular one has a inlaid Mercedes-Benz emblem. I believe these came, with, dealerships would give them out if you bought a Mercedes car or getting a service, something like that. I'm sure Mercedes employees got them. I've seen quite a few of them out there. There's small ones, there's full-size 91 millimeter ones. But this is your basic Tourist. We have an opening layer, just like the Spartan. This one is from before 85, so it does not have a half stop on the bottle opener / screwdriver. It does have the little notch for stripping wire. It'll strip 14 or 16 gauge wire. Anything larger than that's a little rough, but that is most like home, like, a lamp cord or even the wiring to outlets is generally 14 gauge. Most lamp cords are 16 gauge. This is the can opener with the 2D Phillips or small flathead on it. These work great for Phillips screws. If you've never tried it, you should, because some people get really concerned about needing a Phillips and having the backside Phillips. But this will take care of most situations where you might happen to just come across a Phillips screw and need to deal with it and not have a proper screwdriver available at the moment. Then we have the pen blade. Wow, it's a pen blade. And then the main blade. Yeah, nothing special. Fantastic blade, as always. 4-layer tang stamp, or 4-line tang stamp with the uppercase V in Victorinox crossbow and Officer Swiss stamped on the back. And the cool thing about getting these knives when they have an emblem on this side is that they have the shield on this side. And a lot of times what I like to do is I will get these knives, especially if they're a little beat up but the scales are decent, I'll rehab the scales and then I'll make a knife that has double shields. Sometimes even has double shields with 2 different colors. So like a blue with a shield on this side and red with a shield on this side or vice versa. And that's just a cool way to switch it up. Like I have this blue one with the shield on the back side and something else on the front side, but I plan on taking this shield off and making a knife that has double shields. So that's one of the cool things to look out for if you're trying to collect them. It's a great reason to pick up some of these advertising Tourists, because they'll often have the higher end ones will have the shield on the back side, which is a little unusual. Here I've got an older vanilla Tourist. This one has the fluting on the corkscrews, which, I know some people think it's for reasons of giving you friction or traction, which, yes, that would be in a situation where the mechanical stress was greater. But, I mean, if you use a corkscrew enough, you know that, especially with real cork, unlike the new ones that are synthetic, but with real corks, the problem more often than not was, especially with a shorter corkscrew, that sometimes the cork would just break in half and leave a chunk of cork in the bottom rather than come out. So you rarely had a problem with the screw, like say stripping out, like pulling a screw out of sheetrock or something like that. More that the tensile strength of the cork was such that the corkscrew would just rip it in half. So that's why, these corkscrews obviously can't be as long as they should be, but on dedicated corkscrews, you'll see the corkscrew is often much longer to make sure it gets all the way down into the cork. Has the reamer with no hole in it. Again, it's before 1985, so they didn't put the hole in the reamer. And this one has no toothpick or tweezers. That's real common on the advertising ones. The Tourist was, before they actually had an economy line, the Tourist was kind of their go-to economy knife. That's why there's so many of out there. There's a lot of them with like locations or stores names on them and stuff. I mean, just as the name implies, they were designed, they was meant for tourists to buy. It wasn't designed for that. They had the smaller design going on much longer, but that's kind of what the focus of the 84mm line was. It was kind of like the original economy line, but that just didn't work out for many reasons, why the 84s with scissors and other tools were discontinued in the 70s and into the 80s. Finally, I want to talk about this little guy. This is a George Fisher model. This is a later one that's less expensive, but many times you'll see the GFs, etched on the blade. And the reason I am fond of the George Fisher ones is that George Fisher is a company with a long history in Switzerland, and they were actually started out as a company that was one of the many manufacturers of the original soldier's knives. So there are soldier knives out there that are connected to George Fisher, and then later they continued to, as they developed into more of a financial firm, they still use the Swiss Army knife as one of their symbols. So when you see that plus sign, that cross, GF cross, that's their logo, and it's something interesting to keep an eye out for. I like collecting the George Fisher knives whenever you can find them. So when you see one with a George Fisher blade etch, please don't bid on it, because I'm trying to get it probably. I kid, of course. You know, I can't stop anywhere. You know, it's every man for himself out there. But I am fond of these George Fisher ones. I've got a couple more of them with their different styles. Not a tourist, so I won't talk about them here. I'm going to try to do more videos on the common models. They seem to do really well. Maybe they'll draw in some people to watch some more of the rare models. I don't know, but it seems like everybody seems to like watching the same thing over and over again. And if that's what people like to watch, then I guess that's what I'm going to give them. I'm a man of the people. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate all you guys commenting, hitch post. I love your comments. I love debating with you about everything. If I say something you don't like, please comment on it. I love debating things in the comments. So, feel free to let me have it. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Petey Grizz out.